Hi, my name's Phil and welcome to LabourVision, where we discuss Labour's policies compared with the Conservatives. In this video, as Rishi Sunak claims to be so interested in maths education, let's talk about the policies Labour announced at the conference earlier this month. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for updates on Labour discussions. So I've taught maths in my time, and I know that it is not exactly people's favourite subject, which is a bit of a shame, but it is really important for both general living and to get more people interested in STEM-based subjects, you know, science, technology, engineering, maths, essential if you want a well-trained, well-paid workforce driving a modern economy into the future. And both the Conservatives and Labour understand this, but where do they differ? Well, what can I tell you as someone who was teaching maths and numeracy in 2010? It's the first thing the Conservatives did was pull funding for a lot of adult numeracy courses. The last Labour government had a big thing about lifelong learning. This was dumped as a priority when the Conservatives came to office and then kicked down the well with Timmy once they won majority power in 2015. Rishi Sunak has more recently put the emphasis back on maths learning that his party removed the funding for, but what's his plan? Oh, he doesn't actually have a plan. Oh, Prime Minister, you want more people to learn maths. What's your plan for that? Can we see it? Oh, no, I haven't written it down. It's all up here. It's all up here. All right. Okay. All right, then. You know, but he keeps saying that he wants people to study maths until 18. Well, the thing is, I mean, some already do. You know, there are obviously some people who learn A-level maths, for example. But, you know, if you don't achieve a certain standard in either GCSE maths or English in England or Wales, then it is required that you continue that study into further education alongside your other studies. That can mean that you've got people who do study maths until 18 without necessarily choosing a maths-based programme of study even. But of course that represents failing to achieve a certain standard during secondary education. So what does Sunak mean exactly? Well, who knows? He's talked of a new baccalaureate for education in England, but there's no plan behind it. And if one were to ever be published, I imagine universities would bust a blood vessel. They've still not forgiven Michael Gove for messing up A-levels for them a few years ago. So what are Labour proposing to boost maths education themselves? Well, they have some actual policies, and their focus is not tacking things onto the end of people's education, but the beginning. One policy which emerged from the conference this month was what Bridget Phillipson, who's Labour's Shadow Education Secretary, called real-world maths teaching. Now, interestingly, I worked briefly as a maths teacher at a school in Yorkshire a while ago now, where they carried out an experiment by giving me the entire Year 8 cohort and designing a programme of study which did just that. The idea was to get the kids interested in using maths at just the point where there's a risk some of them start to go backwards due to disinterest. So, you know, it's things like designing theme parks, using maths to analyse football league tables, things like that. My own thoughts are that a good approach to numeracy should probably think about serving two groups of students. There are students who are going to go on to develop a very high level of mathematical skills. They are our future engineers and scientists and, you know, maybe political commentators. But the vast majority benefit from a good grounding in numeracy, not so much more abstract stuff. And here's the trick. How do you make sure that absolutely everyone, even late bloomers, have the opportunity to keep learning higher and higher levels of maths without losing the vast majority who will never do that, but still need decent numeracy skills both domestically and for their work? Making maths relevant to them is certainly part of the key. But the realisation is easier than theory, isn't it? There are also policies of early intervention here. Intervention has become much less effective over the last 13 years because school budgets have been squeezed. That has forced schools to drop staff, whether teachers or teaching assistants, which inevitably means that those at risk of being left behind actually get left behind because you've pulled the resources needed to let them catch up. You know, the last Labour government had a policy of no child left behind. The Tories changed it to too expensive, Sodom. One interesting policy that Phillipson mentioned was financial literacy. Now, this links back with that real-world maths. This could be a really good or a missed opportunity. She talked about, oh, you know, like using individual savings accounts to teach percentages. I mean, we already do that. That already happens. A downside, and this is where Labour will need to really think about this properly instead of just coming up with ideas like that, is that what might seem relevant to like a middle-class adult may not seem that relevant to a child. 12-year-olds don't really consider individual savings accounts to be relevant. Frankly, nor will many of their parents. Like, there's only so many people who've got savings accounts, and few of those have enough in them to make working out interest rates worth their while. So, although I approve of the real-world maths idea, it has to be the real world in which those students inhabit. It has to be age appropriate. It has to be socially appropriate. Like, if you fail to make it relevant to all kids, you risk the middle class kids benefiting and the poorer kids still being left out. You have to make sure that it's culturally sensitive, if you see what I mean. You know, where the policies announced were much more clearly going to be beneficial, instead of, oh, you've got the right idea, but have you got the right angle on this, was the promotion of maths champions in early years. It's quite easy to find at the Key Stage 1 end of things for there to be few, if any, staff with a maths background. The problem is even more pronounced for early years learning. So essentially, Labour are proposing three main things. First, a focus on numeracy teaching early on. Second, making sure teaching methods are modernised in order to be effective. And third, making sure that there are interventions in place early on to prevent kids falling too far behind, leading to problems in adulthood whereby some can't even work out supermarket offers. You know, it's like, it's no good waiting until they're 16 thinking, right, let's get them to do more maths. Get them when they're 5 years old if they're behind. So not only actual policies, unlike Sunak with his, oh, yes, carry on learning maths for another couple of years, but a focus on where the attention will do the most good. When kids are younger, rather than getting them to play catch-up after 10 years of neglect. But there we are. Hope you found the video interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course add your own thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, I'll see you later.